Good morning, Metaverse. I'm Thor at the Red Hand, and this episode is going to be about V2 in the Sage game manual. The V2 part of development is about the careers, which is kind of a really interesting aspect for from my standpoint as far as how the game is going to develop and become a really substantial and strategically intense game. Different ways that people can play Sage, and so I'm going to run through that. And I had done a reading on the game manual, and that's going to be linked in the description below. Metaverse Nomads also did an interview with Chypto, and I was on it with a few other community members where we asked some questions in a little bit more detail about these parts. And this is really going to be, my theory crafting and the pieces that I see as the most important and things that I'm looking forward to in those parts of development, and hopefully give you some more insight into what to expect in the coming years of development for the Sage Star Atlas browser game. So let's get right into it. All right, great. So we have V0 careers. So we have V2 careers, and there wasn't a whole lot of this talked about with Chypto specifically, but I think there's a lot to this, and this is really where individuals will get the chance to start planning and strategizing the way that they do their gameplay and benefit themselves going down the road, and really start thinking about that skill tree aspect of games that's really fun to develop and plan out. And if you have a good plot for where you want your fleet, your characters to go, this is the time to start implementing this. Now, the reason I had mentioned in the previous video, V1 is going to be land, and Chypto had mentioned that V2 was originally going to be the V1 step, going from the player-to-player economy into the careers. But in order to add utility, or to begin the utility of the land so they can do the land sale in late 2022, they've just moved that up. That's why I think the V1 is actually going to be a little bit quicker integration, because it's sort of more of just an add-on, an additional thing, one more step in what was originally going to be a V0. And so careers, I think, will be a nice little add-on to everything that V0 really is. I think that's going to be the meatiest chunk in these first three versions of Sage. But this part is where we start differentiating ourselves from each other. The LP Store expansion, additional rewards, you're going to start having NPC headshot portraits, and so that's going to bring a little bit more variety to the game, to be able to go in and see the different NPCs that you're interacting with and have them look visually different versus just numbers on a page. Asteroids and wreckage, escape pods, your player versus environment is going to change to the ecos. The previous one, I believe, had been the Jarvis, a banished faction fighting against the Jarvis, and now the ecos is going to be a new enemy to go after. And the things that you do are going to be building up points now in the licensing aspect. You have combat license, freighter, racing, rescue, refuel, repair, salvage, data running, bounty hunting, I think that's all the licenses, but all in a license aspect. So the more times you do those activities, the higher level license you get, and then the more advanced type of activity within that category you're going to be able to unlock, and more efficiency in those areas. And that's going to be account wide. So you as a fleet are going to have, for Red Hand, I'm going to be doing repair, refueling, and rescuing a lot. And so my fleet as a whole is going to be doing a lot more of that. cruise is a little bit later in V3. I'm going to do a different separate video on that, and that's going to be a little bit different. But this is account wide, and so some other parts of V2 that are not exactly careers are the dark sector random events, and so that brings a little bit more variety to the gameplay. Not as regular and as expected as going to a specific spot or doing extraction. You know what's going to happen if you extract. It's going to pull out resources at a certain rate. Well, we going through these dark sector zones. Maybe that's where random pirate attacks happen, or you randomly bump into a asteroid with rare resources on it that you weren't expecting to go and find. And so that makes a little bit of randomness in the game, little unexpected adventures, make those gameplay loops a lot more interesting, and encourages the exploration of areas. And so data running, I think, is going to be a little bit more interesting with those random events. Ship configurations, that is where the SFTs switch to NFTs, non-fungible, from semi-fungible to non-fungible migration, and be able to really customize those ships, add-ons. It's changing the modules that you have on them, shifting the statistics that you have with those NFTs, is going to be a great part of it. I think that's going to be a lot of time that I'm going to happily enjoy reorienting the way that my ships are laid out and load out, and finding those max min, how to really make the best rescue repair fleet for myself. And then cosmetics are always going to be interesting. I've seen a lot of really cool designs that people have already done outside of anything that the Star Atlas development team has done with ship skins and excuse me, the creativity of the community. And then the mission system generation, the NPC generated quests, that's going to give us stuff to do on a regular basis. So I'm really looking forward to this V2. Hopefully that was helpful, getting an idea of where this career aspect is coming from. It is going to be, your fleet wide. It's going to be your entire group gets advantages for the licenses and the skill tree that you develop from this point on. And there are some other real key aspects that are going to be opened up to increase the variety of gameplay once V2 comes out. And again, that's each version is approximately a year, so this is a little bit of time from now, but looking forward to the development into that area. So don't worry about liking or subscribing, but if you know somebody that would find this useful, interested in Star Atlas, want to join the Red Hand or any place in the Star Atlas community, then please drop me a line in Discord. I'd love to chat with you. And if you can share it with them, then today was a good day. Good morning, Metaverse.